I think that setting that position, the manual sort of sets you up well to be ready for an obstacle like a log drop-off. As you land, you're going to be nice and flat, low, and practicing that manual technique's well worth it.
Hi guys, Coach Fenz here. We're joined today at Stromlo Forest Park by Dylan Cooper of Ride Technics. And today we're going to be looking at what I know a lot of riders dread, which is the drop-off. Okay, we can get, in a lot of races around the country, we sometimes get faced with, this sort of challenge on trail and terrain that we're not used to. And it can put the fear of God up a lot of us in terms of how do we negotiate that. So thanks for joining us today, Dylan. It's good to have you here. The dreaded drop-off, it causes a lot of problems for people, eh? I think there's a definite fear component to, oh my God, I'm going to go over the bars if I drop off that. And I've seen lots of people actually get off and negotiate it. So, what are the fundamentals of being able to negotiate the drop-off like this?
I think setting the right speed, not too hot, not too slow, is probably a key thing, and loosening up and getting the bike out in front of you when you need it, they're probably the main things. But also, not stiffening up because you're hesitating and going into it, and one thing leads to another. You press the brakes because you hesitate, you stiffen up, and you're in that forward position after you press the brakes. That leads you to put weight on the front wheel as you land, and you know what can happen after that. So it can get messy.
Yeah, so I suppose that's, again, we've talked about it pretty much on every component of sort of technical riding. Projecting, looking up the trail to where you want to go. Obviously, you've got to have already sussed that the landing or where you're going to drop off is not too great, and you're not going to axe yourself. But primarily, I think with most of the races that we would have for mass participation, they're never going to throw in something that's going to be so gnarly it's going to cause you issues. And I think probably for most of those races, they're always going to show like a triple arrow to just let you be aware that there is something technical coming up. That would be the norm, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think the key thing is to get in the ultimate position where the manual comes in. You do the manual, that sets you back on the bike, and then you're pretty much ready for anything. So even if the drop's bigger than you thought, even if there's some rough landing, you're going to be ready for it rather than just assume that it's okay and be forward on the bike and then it's just going to be messy. So I think that setting that position, the manual sort of sets you up well to be ready for an obstacle like a log drop-off. As you land, you're going to be nice and flat, low, and practicing that manual technique's well worth it.
Fantastic. So, obviously, the elite riders are going to take something like this pretty fast, and they're not going to hesitate about doing it. But there is, it is negotiable at a slower pace, isn't it? But again, adopting that, and I think we'll show that in when we have Josh Batty actually take it on and show this method. But you can take it slower as long as you get that weight placement right.
That's right. The slower you do it, the more throw you need. So you should be able to do it if you've got a good technique. And the key thing is actually to have the confidence to get forward on the bike as you approach, to then have a full range throw off that. So you're moving from a forward position to a back position, and it's quite exaggerated. That'll help you get away with it at that slower speed, and that comes down to having the confidence. So not approaching something and shying away and getting back on the bike, then you don't have that range to throw with you already too far back.
Yeah, fantastic. The last thing there is that a lot of people we see out there riding, they're riding with their fingers covering the brakes. And if you're coming into this and you're touching that front brake, there's obviously cause for issues there, because that can really cause you a problem.
Yeah, I see that a lot, and it's bad news, especially when people are still on them on landing, and they'll often subconsciously press the brakes at the worst point, which is when they're compressing into the ground, into the bike, plus the brakes exaggerate that. And as you said, the front brake's the worst thing you could do, and that'll finish you off going over the bars. So
yeah, that's right.
You want to avoid that.
That's right, because you do, don't you? If you're feeling like you're slightly out of control, one of the things to do, going to stop, try and stop, put the brakes on, boof, when you see that sort of big endo wheelie and over the bars.
Yeah, and two, I think it takes that extra finger off the grips, and it's more than 25% that it affects in your leverage and movement there. So if you can just keep your hands on the grips, use that for the twisting and and the action that you need for manuals, bunny hops and things like that, that's going to be more important, because usually once you come off the obstacle, even if there's another one, you're going to have time to press the brakes when you need it, so there's no point in jumping the gun there.
Yeah, fantastic. So braking before you getting the speed then, so you can get back on, off the brakes, get the body position right, being dynamic on the bikes, you can get the full throw, and you can negotiate. Get ready to step up for the next one.
That's the one.
Superb. Thanks very much for joining us today, Dylan. It's awesome.
Thanks, mate.
Okay, guys, fantastic. We've learned how to negotiate the dreaded drop-off. So something that you need to practice, and I would suggest practicing it on the smaller side to start with, getting that technique set right before you challenge something like this, which gets progressively bigger. Anyway, thanks for joining us, guys. I hope to catch you out in the trail. Bye-bye.